God, and dear man, I'll take you far away under the sycamore trees, in the dark trees that blow, baby, in the dark trees that blow. And I see you, and you see me, and I see in the branches that blow.
And welcome to Twin Peaks Unwrapped. I'm your host, Ben Durant, and beside me is
Brian Kazaska.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, Ben. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, 2018.
Oh, my God. I can't even believe you said that word, 2018.
You know, I'm curious to know what's going to happen with Twin Peaks in 2018. You know, like, I feel like, I was looking forward to the series in 2017, and then I was looking forward to Mark Frost's book, and then we got the Blu-ray, and now here we are, clean slate, 2018. What's going to happen? What are we going to get?
Well, if I had to make a prediction, I would say my prediction is by the end of this year, I predict we will get a announcement of some sort of a new series or maybe possibly a movie.
I like that. I'm there with you. That's my year prediction here.
And,
it's not about losing weight. It's about
not eating healthy.
It's just about doing everything you can to get a series or a movie of Twin Peaks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care about anything else.
Right.
That's all I want. So that's what I predict. So today's show, we actually got someone from season 3. We got Nicole LaLiberte. She played the character Daria, yeah. I mean, and she died way too soon. I mean, I really thought she was a great character, and I wanted more of her. I even was hoping for like flashbacks, or she could be in the Red Room or something more. But it was. Yeah, I wanted the dynamic between her and Ray,
right,
to last longer. Ray lasted pretty long, sort of.
Yeah, he did.
But I wanted her to last long too. I thought, she
was an interesting character.
She was, and you know what it was? I predicted last year that we have to see Mr. C kill someone, and if I remember correctly, that was one of the first people we saw. He did shoot someone, but I mean, he was in bed with her, and he killed her. He smuggled her with the pillow and shot her in the head. And that's a personal kill. That's not like shooting someone across the room.
Right.
And it showed the weight, the evilness of Mr. C.
Yes.
And it kind of we're dealing with not Dale Cooper anymore. This is crazy.
Yes, and Mr. C was happy to have other people do the dirty work, but when they can't get the job done, he will take care of them.
Yeah. An interesting character. I'm so happy we got Nicole on today's show.
Yeah, it's great to get to talk to her for a short time. And then we also have Mike Stasko. He directed this film, Iodine, which Ray Wise is in it and stuff. So, I mean...
So cool.
So cool. So we get to talk to him. We'll talk to him about Twin Peaks. It's a really good interview.
Yeah.
All right, we're on the phone with Mike Stasko. He is actor, producer, a writer, and director. Hi, Mike.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. So you have this film, Iodine, with Ray Wise. Can you tell us a little bit about this film?
Yeah, this was a film I made a few years back. It was my second feature film. And basically, when you start off as a filmmaker, you have these high hopes of doing these wonderful, beautiful, artsy-fartsy projects and kind of the things you look up to. I'm obviously a big fan of David Lynch and his work. And you slowly realize as you get more into the industry and you need to pay bills and stuff that it is extremely rare what David Lynch was able to accomplish. And he's been able to secure this niche of mostly art with enough entertainment to have an audience sustain like a life kind of thing. So this was kind of my one big attempt to try to do something like a story that I would want to see, kind of more on the art side of entertainment kind of thing. So yeah, this film starred Ray Wise, which was a big feather in my cap. And it's just about a film about a guy who I kind of basically wanted to tell the anti-drug story. So you've seen a lot of films where a guy, you introduce the main character and it's life as we know it, and then this inciting incident happens and he gets on drugs and all this stuff goes crazy and wonky and he questions reality and whatever. I thought it'd be interesting to explore the idea of like, what if someone was heavily medicated and on drugs and then for whatever inciting incident had them off the medication, off the drugs, and then coming back to what is actually reality was the thing that kind of spooked them out. So,
Yeah, I really like the film. I like this uneasiness of it. I don't even know who to trust. I don't know how to trust your character or Ray Wise's character. It's a really well made film, and it's really smart too, which I really like. That it really makes you think a lot about the things they're talking about.
well, thank you. Yeah, and part of the challenge, as I kind of said in the preface, is usually when you're trying to make more commercial stuff, you have to put a few more flagpoles along the way to kind of hold your audience's hand and make sure they're following along and they're expecting certain acts and structures to hit at a certain point. So this was kind of a bit more of a risk for me as far as a storytelling point of view. But I knew that there's an audience out there. I mean, it's the key audience, I think, is like those Twin Peaks fans, someone who wants to not passively watch something, but wants something that's a challenge to watch that takes months and years to dissect and appreciate over and over again.
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely think that the listeners who are listening to this, I think they'll really enjoy this because it does make you think, and it's what we like.
Yeah.
So you wrote this too. So you directed this, you wrote this, and you acted in this. So you really did the whole thing here. But I mean, were you taking some of your own life and kind of bringing in? I think when you were a kid, you went to the YMCA camp, and I mean, I think are you an instructor as well? Is that right? You teach?
Yeah, I work as a professor at the University of Windsor, and I teach film production there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I spent a lot of summer up north in northern Canada, and kind of so the backdrop in the film is kind of how I spent my summer. So basically drew on that beautiful free production value of just having that kind of part of the area there. But yeah, so I wrote and directed. The acting part of it is just when you're starting off in filmmaking, it's sometimes cheaper and easier to cast yourself in some of the projects or people kind of thing, and then as you work your way up the ladder, then you can start hiring Ryan Gosling and stuff to act in your films for you.
But you got a big get. You got Ray Wise. How did you come about getting him?
Yeah, it's I'm sure you guys, being the target audience, realize how big of a get it was.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
for me, like he's my Daniel Day-Lewis comparative. Like he's, I grew up watching Twin Peaks and all the David Lynch stuff, and Twin Peaks is my Bible kind of thing. And as you guys know, Ray Wise is like a pivotal, huge part of that, and kind of like an amazing character turn that happens, spoiler alerts, in that. And to land him for that film was like, that was my actual dream scenario. And that happened. So, yeah, real high note in the career. And it was I had done one feature before that and had some television credits and stuff. But it was that shot of like, I wrote it. He is the person in my mind that I'm thinking for that role of Avery. Worst case scenario, you ask him and get the agent and make an offer, and they say, no, go away, kid, kind of thing. But I was lucky enough that I was able to get the script to him, had him read it. I sent him like all this other artsy stuff. Like I did like a CD, like a mixed CD for him to listen to while he was reading it. gave him all this other background stuff about the character. I showed him a bunch of my other short films that I had made at that point, talked to him a lot about Twin Peaks, what I was trying to do. And still you're kind of going there with comparatively pennies in your hand, offering a guy who at the time he was a series lead in Reaper, and you make pretty decent money doing that, and you're coming in with a fraction of that to say, can you give me a couple weeks of your life and fly to the middle of nowhere in Canada? So yeah, when I found out that he was on board, it was a thrill for sure.
Wow.
That's really cool.
And he's so good in it. I mean, he always has a presence about him that is just, there's no one else like Ray Wise. I mean, there really isn't. That is so cool.
and that's what I was looking for was, because if you've seen Iodine, throughout the whole film, I need the audience to be questioning both my character and Ray's character of who's good guy, who's bad guy, who's seeing reality correct and who isn't. And Ray's face, the way he delivers his lines, is you can hear him say something and be like, wow, that's the most sincere thing ever. Or at the same time be like, oh my God, he is hiding something crazy underneath that grin. And to have the audience, without having to direct too much, just having Ray's face and that way he delivers it was just a perfect match for that character.
Yeah, and you both pulled it off. Both you and him really did that. I'm questioning through to the very end.
Wow.
Both characters and stuff. So good job. Nice work.
Thank you.
And what's next for you? Like, what are you doing? I mean, you've got some other projects you're working on right now?
Yeah, I just so the third film we made after that was called The Birder. In the States, it was re-released by Sony as The Birdmen, and that was with Tom Cavanaugh, Fred Willard, and Graham Greene, and that had a pretty good run. I think it's currently Netflix in the States. I'm calling up from Canada just to give context to your listeners. And I just finished my fourth film called The Control. We just finished it in September, and that's very much postmodern sci-fi, even more in line with kind of the Twin Peaks stuff. It spent a lot of time, about an extra year in post-production, because this was the first film I did that had a significant amount of special effects in it, and I was never really used to that workflow. But we finally finished September, we applied to a bunch of film festivals, so we're hoping to do the festival run in the January through April, and then have a release after that.
Nice.
Very cool. I was just thinking how you were talking about David Lynch. We're starting to get into these shorts of David Lynch, and he was talking about like he was lucky enough to get a grant from IFC, and it was like he was lucky enough to get a grant, and he said that changed his life completely. Like he didn't know if he could be able to make it. He didn't know if he was even going to stick with films and stuff like that. So I think it's always just getting the right break and the right chance to do this, but. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the work you're doing is amazing. Going back to Iodine, I really love the pace of the film. Like there's sometimes where there's just music and you're just watching the character go different places, do things. It's just a great style and pace that you have.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And just to go back what you were saying about David, like it is, I want to stress this to your listeners, it is very hard to make a living as a filmmaker anywhere in the world. And the kind of line, it's so admirable of what David did and was able to pull off. And the fact that he was early in his career, he was pulled over to kind of do this Dune thing and do the studio thing. And a lot of filmmakers will experience that and experience the money and the fame and what comes with that, and then fall into this world of making these studio pictures and needing all this money, where he made a very crazy decision early on in his life where he's like, no, I'm going to go back and I'm doing Blue Velvet. I'm doing Wild at Heart. I'm doing Lost Highway. And I don't need $70 million. I'm fine with $5 million to budget to make this film. And I want to make something beautiful and wonderful. And I don't want to do what someone else can do. So, he's a great guy to look up to in that sense.
Definitely.
And do you want to try to model your career like that? Is that how you're trying to go about it?
Well, I would never draw a comparison between myself and the great David Lynch, but yeah, I mean, he is the filmmaker I definitely look up to by far the most, and the idea that you kind of realize that there is someone else out there that can go shoot that car commercial or make that superhero movie. So why do I need to go fill those shoes? Why don't I spend this one life that I have making that dream beauty thing in my head and work towards that. So, I'd like to say I worked hard, but I'm kind of at the point where I'm lucky enough that I can kind of take my time and make these projects that I really care about And hopefully there's an audience out there, and hopefully I'm getting better and better at telling stories and kind of hitting that audience and kind of, finding the right people who like the same things that I like.
Yeah, there's always an audience. I think you'll have an audience. I feel like there's sort of like this this bubbling of everyone's getting kind of, it's always these superhero movies in the theater. It's kind of the same old. And I think smaller movies have kind of fallen by the wayside. But because of Netflix and on demand, it's kind of a resurgence of the indie house can come right into your home now. You have the instant access.
And Lynch kind of looks at it that way. I mean, he saw Showtime as maybe an option that maybe instead of going to theaters, that maybe something like premium channels would actually
cable.
Get.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he said a few times that it is a bit like the new art house. I think the only downside he would probably see from it as a filmmaker is the end result is out of your control as far as you still have people watching things on iPhones and their small little computer screens. Yeah. And if David had it his way, he'd want it to still be on a huge screen with great 5:1 mix.
Yes. Yeah.
But as far as the freedom control you get, it's a great medium for him to be working in and other art filmmakers.
Yeah, it's weird. Television has become the new movie, the new cinema. All these
Fargo,
Fargo.
There's so many good
great
TV
stories.
shows.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, and it's kind of open. That's where the middle ground kind of is. So 20 years ago and before in filmmaking, there were gatekeepers. You were either making a film with a studio or you weren't. And it's nice that we've had access to more accessible technology that allows you, now you can make a film for $100,000 or $200,000 or $1 million, where before it was all or nothing. But as a result, the marketplace has changed as well. So these theaters, these big studios, they rely on those tent poles of those big blockbuster movies to kind of, please the shareholders kind of stuff. But it is nice that we're rebounding and saying, you know what? We can find niche audiences on television through subscription services like Showtime, and the audience will seek it out.
Yeah, definitely.
And Mike, I think you said you're a Twin Peaks fan. You actually, the name of your company, is it Bookhouse? Is it the Bookhouse Productions? Is that right?
Yeah, Bookhouse Production Inc. So
that's awesome.
I hope I don't get sued for that. I don't think I can get sued for that.
No, you're a Bookhouse. It could be anything.
It's an homage thing.
You're a Bookhouse boy now. You're an official Bookhouse boy.
There you go.
And have you had a chance to see the new series, the Showtime series?
Oh yeah. I've watched it 3 times through now.
Wow.
And I'm booking out. Me and my friends are booking out a theater over the holidays to watch it all the way through, doing a marathon.
I want to come to that theater.
Oh my God! Yeah, I talked to Ben about that. 18 hours in a theater.
Right. I don't know. I want to do it over a week. I don't know if I can do it in one
It's
day.
possible. I've done the original 2 seasons. I've done probably over 75 to 80 times in total. And maybe 10 of those times was a straight 29-hour marathon that we've done.
Oh my
God.
God.
That's impressive. That's really
yes.
Yeah, but it's the point where, maybe it gets a little unhealthy, but it's an addiction for me for sure.
Yeah, I think it is for everybody in the Twin Peaks. What's your take on the ending? Can I ask, have you any thoughts of how you saw the ending of season 3?
Yeah, it was. I mean, at the time as you're watching it, I kind of understood reactions and how people would view it, on Twitter and Facebook and how they were saying it, and people saying episode 17, that's the true ending, and 18 is this kind of like third act, what if kind of scenario. But I mean, it was absolutely perfect in Lynch Frost's world and what they were after. Of course, they were going to do that to us. I think you have to go back to 1989, and the way television series existed back then was episodic television. At the 7.5-minute mark, someone's got to walk in on Chandler and something's going on, and then commercial break and suspense to the next thing. You guys know that when Twin Peaks came in and became this more serialized thing, that changed, television. That introduced X-Files, that introduced Lost. Everything else kind of owes to that. So, and at the time, they didn't know what was happening. And now it's just so commonplace. You could show someone Twin Peaks nowadays and be like, oh yeah, that reminds me of, The Killing or whatever. And you say, yeah, but that killing exists because of this, in context. what happened now is we had Lynch and Frost come back and they did the same thing again. People are used to this kind of certain act structure in the television world where they want closes and they want endings and they want one timeline, and that timeline is attached to how Mother Earth is in this dimension. And then all of a sudden Lynch says, does the hold my coffee, and just throws this whole new world at us and a whole new way of storytelling. Again, it's not going to hit 100% of the audience, but the 15% of the audience that it hits are just like in wow of it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, we're still digesting
Right.
the ending, and I think we're coming up with interesting theories so far, and
Yeah.
every day I'm thinking about something new about it, you know?
But it's so impressive that, 25 plus years later, they're able to reinvent television again. Like,
And reinvent the series.
Yeah.
I mean, season 3 just changed
Right.
all of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I mean, what amazing storytelling to kind of retroactively go back and recontextualize everything. I mean, even reading that Secret History of Twin Peaks, the Mark Frost book,
Yeah.
was like just such a nice treat as far as, what are the weakest storylines from the original Twin Peaks, like the Dougie Milford and his brother kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden that's like key, like canon stuff after reading this book, and it puts that in a new light for sure. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, this, as you know, this is just so exciting that this came back. You've been thinking about it the last 20 years, like what if it ever came back? And we are living in the unconscious dream right now of like, oh my God, this happened.
Totally.
Did you read the final dossier?
Yeah, of course I got that. I got that shipped right away, and I think I read it in 5 hours.
Yeah, that was really good. That was like the icing on the cake right there.
Oh yeah, and it was, I mean, of course it's, way shorter, and it wasn't as much of a collage as that original one, and I kind of figured that going into it, but like, if you love Twin Peaks, you're just ready to consume anything.
Yeah,
True.
it was good.
And then, there's some things some question marks that it throws up again. And I just listened the other day to your Mark Frost interview, and I was kind of on the edge of my seat. Like, are they going to ask this? Or are they going to ask that? Because, some things you want to know from him, and some things, like, any answer he gives is going to kind of, like, destroy you and make you excited at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's always hard because it was like we interviewed him with the book. Oh, the book had been out that week.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of like, okay, it's new. I don't want to do spoilers. I don't want to like reveal anything. But how can we kind of like tiptoe around this and try to get things?
Yeah, we didn't want to ruin it.
I think for me, it was kind of like, okay, some things were not accurate in the last book, and I'm trying to tiptoe around it. But it was a funny interview.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to bleep out anything I'm going to say, but yeah, there was obviously people were in Vast talking about these inconsistencies in the first one, and then he kind of resolved. Some of them were resolved through the series, and some were resolved in this new one. And then you're reading, how is it that Annie was born in 1973 if she was in her early 20s? And then you're like, was that an oversight? Or are we saying now because of this new timeline? And
Right.
But then either answer, I kind of want to know, and I kind of don't want to know because I'm hoping there's more to come.
And then there's other problems with dates where it's like, I think Tammy is writing in 2016, but I think 25 years would have been, is it 2015 would it be? Or 2014? I can't remember. And then I think at one point it's 2017. So like there's a few different...
Yeah, she jumps to the future.
Is she, I don't know, but would she have been at Twin Peaks for a year?
I think so. I feel like
I've written them all down. Like I'm making my own notes.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, and then even the log lady chapter, they call her Margaret Coulson in that.
Yes.
Coulson, yeah.
And I know there's some lore where that was like her maiden name, but I mean, she's in the series she's called Latterman the whole time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So is this because of the retroactive timeline that she kept that name, or was it maybe an artistic tribute of Mark Frost paying homage to Katherine Coulson and putting that name? Either way, I kind of don't want to know, and I do want to know.
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of go with the idea of like everything stands on its own, and you can just say, oh, maybe it's a little inconsistent, and that's fine, or maybe there's something deeper in there, and that's cool too. But to piggyback on what you're saying, when someone tells you something and you didn't want to know, the only time Ben and myself we had a chance to interview Katherine Coulson.
Yes, well, we did talk with her. We talked for 10 minutes.
Yeah, we interviewed her. We had an interview before she passed away, and one of the questions was about the log, and it was kind of heartbreaking to hear her theory about the log.
Well, we had to say, right, we just said, I think I said to her, it's like, is the spirit of your husband, the log lady's husband, in the log and stuff?
And she said no.
She's always talking, right?
Yeah.
But she made it out to be that, it was really just the log lady talking to herself. It was just a way of, was it a comforting mechanism? A coping mechanism, which I still don't buy.
We kind of wanted to be her husband.
Or even
and you read the lore in the new Secret History about there was this big fire and this lightning from the sky that came down and it killed these 5 woodsmen, and maybe that's how their souls get trapped in the wood, and that's the husband. And then if it's just completely quenched by someone, you're like, oh, so do I throw that all out that I was thinking about? Or is that theory still alive? Or because Katherine said no, that's completely gone? Or
I feel like the theory is valid. I think that, but as her character, she probably just sees it one way, but the mythology is bigger. The mythology becomes bigger than the actors, bigger than the characters, almost to the point where who really knows the truth?
Right.
But if that's how she felt, that I think that's correct. But then if we want to say, well, we think it is, and I think that's correct. And I think that's the cool thing about Lynch's work. You can have so many different theories and thoughts, and it's all correct in a way.
And at the end of the Final Dossier, I think Mark Frost says something about, like, it's really individual thing of trying to understand life and stuff, which I really appreciated that he basically ended it with only we can really understand it for ourselves.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about Twin Peaks as like what is canon is it's transcended just being a TV show. There's a TV show, there's books, there's a movie, there's fan sites, there's conventions, there's actors, and everything they all contribute to it counts as canon. So you guys talking about it and doing your podcast and the theories, that all counts equally. Where before you'd have a TV show and it would come out for a half an hour, and whatever happened there on that TV show, that was it. It was over with, and there was one author kind of behind it. As much as you can say Lynch is an author or Frost is an author, there's so many people that go into making a show. So all these elements that you see add up to this greater thing we all get to experience.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the coolest thing. Very special.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if there's anything else you want to share with us before we go, Mike?
No, I'm just hoping we get the announcement for season 4 and 5 soon.
Yes, 4 and 5.
I'm putting down money that I think we're going to get season 4 and 5. They're going to shoot them at the same time. They're going to each be 9 episodes. They're going to release them 2 years apart.
Wow.
Because that way they get a little bit more subscribers hanging on for that, next one.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. I've
convinced
this before
myself.
On the show,
so.
But my hope is that like the DVD, Blu-ray sell really well. Like they're just really well, and it makes it just an easy green light. Say, hey, people are buying this. People are interested in Twin Peaks. Let's make more. Because I feel like they're not exactly saying it, but Mark Frost kind of seems like he wants to do more. David Lynch wants to do more. The actors want to do more. So,
but Lynch has said it took them 5 years to do this.
It took them that long. It took like a year of them thinking about it. I think they think about it quicker.
I don't know. Lynch takes his time.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little insight that I kind of read just from the industry side of things. I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but there was an article about 2 to 3 weeks that came out before the end of the series with David Nevins just saying, oh yeah, this has been the great subscriber thing for us. Mm-hmm. And I haven't talked to David Lynch about another season yet. He's been in France for a while, and I'm not going to go chase him down, and it's up to him. It's in his court. If you look at the context of that article, there's no substance to it. There's no reason that article existed. It wasn't like something happened or they were announcing something.
That's a good point.
That is a power play move by Showtime.
Yeah.
Saying, this is great success for them. Showtime is 100% based on subscriptions, and he even said we had the most subscriptions ever from this. There's no reason for them to not to do it. Yeah. But if they go, tail in hand to David Lynch first and say, come on, please, 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 please do this, from a business side of thing, that's not a good place as far as business for them to be in. I think he's trying to put it so that the fans are then turning their heads, which we are right now, to David saying, please, come on, David, please go and do this.
Yeah.
And that way they can retain a little bit of leverage. I don't know if I'm being too meta on that, but that's kind of how I read it there.
That's a good point.
That's why I have hope.
It's a good point. It makes sense, And we just recently had the 119 initiative, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, right. It was November 19th, and they're doing the whole Lady Next Door 119. So yeah, it was a way of saying, hey, we want more Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I thought that was really kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that, Mike. I think that makes a lot of sense. That's what that. I remember seeing that article, but I didn't even think of that was a power play. But I could.
Yeah, why else would they have that? Why would you say in the same article, David and I agreed not to talk about it until the series was done? Yeah. And then he says, "Oh, here I am talking about it, by the way, out loud." Yeah. So it's like, come on. What are you doing?
I always get concerned about ratings, but there's this other show on Showtime called I'm Dying Up Here, and they had their ratings were worse than Twin Peaks. So they renewed that show, and so they're willing to renew that, which I don't even know if it gets as much buzz as Twin Peaks.
No.
I feel like Twin Peaks is a smart choice with all the.
Yeah, it at this point has the money is there, the appetite is there, the audience is there. It is up to basically Lynch Frost combination to say, yeah, we want to do that.
Yeah.
If they wanted to go to Netflix, they would get a green light tomorrow. I think Showtime would greenlight another season ASAP. But it is a crazy amount of work that they have to go through. You're dedicating the next 5 years of your life to this project. And for us as diehard fans, we're like, come on, this is a no-brainer. Go and do it. Meanwhile, you're David Lynch, you may have other things you want to do, and you want to build a table and stuff like that. So it's hard to get in his shoes because he's at the top of the mountain kind of thing. But yeah, I'm really holding that. I think it's going to happen again.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too. I hope so too. And if they do, we'd love to have you back on.
We could
yeah.
More Twin Peaks.
Yeah, we could talk more Twin Peaks.
So for people who want to see Iodine, how can they check out your film?
Yeah, if you go to iodinemovie.com, it just got re-released on video on demand there. So you can check it out there, and you can either rent it or you could purchase it. And for the next few months, we have a promo code Blue Rose, as in our friends over at the Blue Rose magazine. If you put in Blue Rose, you can get 10% off there.
Very nice.
Nice.
And I definitely recommend it. I like the story, and I like the pacing, and it's eerie and it's mysterious, and I still even have questions even after seeing it. I'm like, oh, and I don't want to spoil it here, so maybe after we're done talking, I can ask. But it's a great film. You and Ray Wise giving a great performance, and I really recommend everybody listening to check it out.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and thank you to you guys for what you're doing over there. It's nice little. I put your blog or your podcast on in the car off my phone on the way to work and listen to it in little 10-minute snippets. So
nice.
It's nice to digest a little bit of Twin Peaks every now and then and hear you guys talking your theories.
Oh, thank you.
Mike.
Yeah,
Thanks a
thank
lot.
you.
So Nicole, let's start with auditioning. What was it like for you auditioning for the role of Daria?
I basically, David Lynch was casting something. It wasn't clear what it was, and that I was going to go meet with Joanna Ray. Joanna Ray cast me in a couple other projects. I was familiar with her and comfortable with her, and she is truly a remarkable woman. So I went there, and I waited outside, and then I went into the room, and, Joanna and her wonderful assistant, Krista, were there, and Joanna said, David's not here, but we're going to pretend that he's here, which colored the interview quite a bit. We just spoke about whatever, we felt like talking about. It's not an audition. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yeah.
You've heard that before. You generally don't have a scene to work on or anything like that. You're just having a conversation, and I guess David sort of watches these conversations and sort of gets a sense of who you are a little bit.
Yeah.
If you'd be right for a role.
Yeah, and you're a Twin Peaks fan. I know. I think I've read in other articles that you've mentioned you listened to the music when you were younger, and so when you found out it was Twin Peaks, how did you feel about that? Knowing that you actually were going to work on 25 years later the new Twin Peaks.
It's the most exciting thing ever. I don't know. I can't really put that into words. It's sort of beyond words. It was extremely thrilling.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Extremely thrilling on many levels. And, in some way I felt like, I feel like someone finally saw me. Oh, David saw me. David got it. And, I'm an unusual person, and I can't be easily thrown into many roles. I'm pretty specific. And although I have quite a range and I feel like I can do many, many things, a lot of the normal stuff doesn't hold much interest for me. So I like to do things that are really interesting, and I was so grateful that I was given this opportunity to do something that was truly engaging for me on all levels.
Awesome. And I thought you were so many fans really loved your work. You were only in 2 parts. And it was unfortunate because I thought you were so good. And I wanted to see so much more of your character. And we got it right at the beginning there. And what was it like for you when you got to see the script? And like, what did you make of Daria, like of her character? Like, what did you think of her?
Well, that you only get a few pages of what your scenes are. So I wasn't given a character description. I was given nothing.
Wow.
I always loved my characters. No matter how fucked up they are.
Yeah.
How twisted, how bizarre. I find the love in them, and I find the love in myself for them. And I think I'm kind of going on a strange tangent about loving bizarre characters.
That's cool.
I don't know if I think that much about. I didn't think I thought that much about her. I think I just sort of let her happen to me.
Yeah.
Which is more my process.
That's cool.
I let characters happen to me.
Yeah.
I kind of, as they're happening, I kind of,
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I was thinking about this character, and I was trying to think: is she also like an FBI informant? Because she was more complicated. She was like working with these people that Mr. C saw, and then she also was kind of working with Ray, and Ray was working with the FBI. And I was like, like what is? I wanted more of the backstory.
Who is she?
Yeah, who is she? I mean,
Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah,
don't we
yeah.
all? I don't have anything to clarify that for you.
Right. Well, and there was no like deleted scenes. You were watching it when it came out. Was there anything that they had shot that didn't make it to the show?
Well, reels of other footage. I don't think I can elaborate on that.
Okay.
To be honest, I'm just as intrigued about her background as you are, and I do find it very interesting. Who is she really? Who is Daria?
But yeah. I think your performance is what made the character to have just only a few scenes really. But your presence I think really made that character, because I think a different actress might not have been able to do what you pulled off. So I'm really impressed with what you were able to do with the character.
Thank you so much. That really, really means a lot. It was a really big deal for me to be given the opportunity to play her. Really, truly, it makes my heart come out of my eyes a little bit as I say it.
Yeah.
It was a really powerful experience for me, and a great learning experience, particularly in the art of letting go. I really gave it my all in the time that I had. I'm proud of the leap that I took. And, I always say that my greatest leaps are the leaps yet to come. But
nice.
But one has to really appreciate the ones that one's taken. And this time with David working on Daria and working on, particularly that intense scene, really changed the way that I work as an actor and appreciate my own self.
Yeah.
As a creative force.
Yeah. And I feel like as an actress, it's a vulnerable place too. I mean, you're kind of like half naked, and you're having this really creepy guy who says he's basically going to kill you, and have to be in that moment, in that performance. I can't even imagine how, as an actress, you handle that. And
yeah. Just years of being alive on the planet,
Yeah.
And we're all humans, and we all have weird experiences, and we all meet strange people, and we all have difficult times that we can draw upon.
Yeah.
And also, as an actor, you put yourself through the ringer so that when, these kinds of opportunities come up that require you to be more vulnerable, that you're that you're ready, like I said, you're ready to leap, you're ready to take a risk and do it. And that was my first day on set.
Wow.
So I had just met David. I had just said hello. We smoked, a cigarette together and, didn't talk about the role at all, didn't talk about what we were doing. And then I was sort of just thrown in there. So.
Wow. And what do you think of David Lynch's style of directing? I've heard it's very different than maybe some of the other directors out there. I mean, I think does he kind of let you find the character yourself, or does he kind of give you some direction if he feels you're not going in the way he wants you to? Or
it's interesting. For that particular scene, he was extremely hands off. He came to me during one small section of it and just sort of whispered in my ear, "Beautiful, beautiful." And then ran back. And then when we went, into the intense part of that scene, we just sort of went through it a few times, and it was a long day shooting that scene. It's a very long scene, about 11 minutes, 10 or 11 minutes that scene. But on another day, like he might ask for a little bit more, in terms of like, try something like this or that, directing a little bit more. But, my experience with him is that he left me alone, and then if he saw that I needed some kind of support, he was there. There was just a sense that you were loved. Yeah. You were loved and supported as an artist. That is appreciated as an artist, and that appreciation of your very essence, of your very being, allows you such incredible freedom. I only get to work with him on those few scenes, but I really dream of working with him again. And because it felt like this door opened and all this light started pouring in, and I was like, oh, this is what it can be like.
Yeah.
This is what it can be like. I learned so much, and then it was, my time was over, and I was like, oh shit. And on my last day, David was grabbing me and he was holding my shoulder and saying, we'll figure something out, because he was also very, very sad that I was leaving.
Yeah.
We connected very deeply, very quickly, David and I, and it was a really very special experience to work with him on Twin Peaks.
Yeah. Well, I hope we do get the opportunity to work again with him, whether it be somehow we get Twin Peaks again or something else. But if it's Twin Peaks, plenty of people have died and we found a way for them to come back. So you never know what will happen.
You never know.
You never know. So I'm doing an interview with you, but you do interviews. Can you share some of that, what you're working on right now? I think it's a coffee table book that you're working on.
Well, I love to interview people, and I haven't done it in a little while, but I did interview this writer, Carlos Knausgaard. He's a Norwegian writer, and I was talking with a friend of mine about having like a annual or biannual coffee table magazine full of these interviews of people that I consider arsonists. It will be called The Arsonist, and it's about people that, are sort of on the crest, on the forefront of innovation, that are, like an arsonist flicking matches, and maybe somebody will awaken from what they're offering to the world.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so that's sort of the idea, and so I'm interested in meeting with people that are really on the crest of that wave, beautiful, beautiful giant wave of bliss, but on the top of it, they're flicking matches off.
That's so cool.
Into the sort of the imagery. I'm still working on the perfection of that imagery, but I'm not sure who's next. I really would like to interview Philip Glass, one of my favorites, and he's up for me. And then I am interested in interviewing some actors and also some janitors and all sorts of people, all different fields, but people that are doing different things.
And is your hope of it coming out in 2018? Is that what your goal is, or?
Oh, I don't know. To be honest, I don't really have an end date for this project.
Yeah.
It's a passion project, and it seems to have its own timeline, and it's pretty slow moving. Although there was a little spark in developments yesterday, so we'll see how things go. It's really just for my own spirit that I do it. I love to meet people that are very alive and connect with them. So
that's awesome. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time. I mean, it's so good to talk with you. I really loved your part in the new Twin Peaks and what you did, and I wish we had more of you. And maybe in another project with Lynch, you'll get that. And thank you so much.
all right, thank you so much.
Hi, this is J.C. Hotchkiss from 25 Years Later site, and here's my piece, Reincarnation and the Return, Part 3. Ding dong, Cooper's dead. For those of you 25 Years Later fans, you know by now my love for the character of Special Agent Dale Cooper runs very deep, which makes writing this third installment of my Reincarnation and the Return so heart-wrenching. I'm going to make a very bold statement, one in which may get me into a lot of trouble with some, applauded by others, and even more asking, what are you talking about, JC? After rewatching Seasons 1, Seasons 2, Fire Walk with Me, and a first viewing with some rewatching of parts of Season 3, I have come to the deduction that Special Agent Dale Cooper is dead. Now, before you bite my head off, let me make my case. Throughout writing this series, I have read, researched, and reread different theories on reincarnation and Tibetan Buddhist mysticism. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, also known as the Great Liberation, upon hearing in the immediate state, is a guide for the dead during the state that intervenes death and the next rebirth. It is a little like Beetlejuice in the handbook for the recently deceased. What made me gasp upon reading passages from a condensed version of the book was the following explanation. The Bardo Thidal teaches that once awareness is freed from the body, it creates its own reality as one would experience in a dream. This dream occurs in various phases, bardos, in ways both wonderful and terrifying. Overwhelming, peaceful, and wrathful visions and deities appear. Since the deceased's awareness is in confusion of no longer being connected to a physical body, it needs help and guidance in order that enlightenment and liberation occurs. This brings us back to Gordon's Monica Bellucci dream. We are like the dreamer, who dreams and then lives inside the dream. But who is the dreamer? While I do still believe we are all the dreamers, in this realm of discussion there is yet another answer. The dreamer is Dale Cooper. And the reason he's our dreamer is because he is going through the states of Bardo, just as the Tibetan Book of the Dead instructs. The first stage of Bardo comes at the very moment of death. Where do I think Cooper died? Cooper dies at the end of Season 1 when Josie shoots him. He is visited by two beings, the giant and the waiter, which I know have been considered one and the same, but I think the giant just communicates through the waiter. Or the waiter is indeed a lodge being. They both are trying to get him to see things in a certain way. Spiritually, but one more literally than the other. The giant tells him many things, while the waiter listens to Cooper's call for help, but ignores his request. Both of these beings are trying to teach him something about descending into the first stage, but Cooper, being Cooper, does not see what he needs to, and is put into the second stage, secondary clear light. This level constantly repeats the instructions needed to be able to go on to the next level. The giant returning to Cooper and telling him, "It's happening again," would be one example. But JC, wouldn't this mean that everything in Season 2 is part of Cooper's reincarnation and is not really happening? Yes and no. This is where you have to bear with me and keep an open mind. When Major Briggs visits Cooper, he shows Cooper the printout that says, "The owls are not what they seem," followed by 3 Coopers. In the return, only 2 Coopers are mentioned. The reason for the 3 Coopers is because there are 3 Coopers at this point. Good Cooper, the dead one, who is in the Red Room. Pre-Mr. C. Cooper, who is also in the Red Room. And the Bodhisattva emanation of Cooper, still in the realm of Twin Peaks. On His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet's webpage, it states, "Ordinary sentient beings generally cannot manifest an emanation before death, Mede Toku, but superior bodhisattvas, who can manifest themselves in hundreds or thousands of bodies simultaneously, can manifest an emanation before death. Within the Tibetan system of recognizing Tulkus, there are emanations who belong to the same mind stream as the predecessor, emanations who are connected to others through the power of karma and prayers, and emanations who come as a result of blessings and appointment." Cooper, with the guidance of the giant, emanated a version of himself so he could continue trying to solve Laura's murder and truly embrace what being a bodhisattva meant. So JC, wouldn't that be considered a tulpa? Yes, you're getting it now. It's almost exactly like we have been finding out about tulpas. The second Bardo is the Bardo of becoming. Spiritualtravel.org writes, "A stage in which the desires of the individual are said to carry the largely helpless soul through a great variety of intense emotional states. Good thoughts bring great bliss and pleasure, and hateful or negative thoughts bring great pain and desolation. To me, this is the other Coopers, Mr. C and Dougie. As Dougie, his soul is broken and feelings of bliss and pleasure control him like that of a child. Mr. C, on the other hand, is mean and maniacal. Both represent two opposite thoughts of an afterlife, heaven and hell. In the Buddhist religion, heaven is not a permanent state, and neither is hell. Thus, Cooper must make his subconscious recognize the change of states. When he's Dougie, he feels things Mr. C has done, as evidenced by such moments as the face massage, mirrored by Bushnell. Cooper, as I've said in part 2 of my series, is a bodhisattva, needing to be awakened. Therefore, he may not recognize he is in fact dead, even though he is feeling and remembering his negative evil self. Another interesting part of the second Bardo is that it is said to last for 2 weeks. If you consider the timeline of the return, it's about 10 days, give or take. In the second Bardo, there is also a part that explains Laura and her light. Even the most wretched souls will eventually work their way out of the deepest pit of hell, just as even the highest and purest souls will eventually lose their footing in heaven and descend again into the cycle of death and rebirth. Liberation is the only way out. I'm not saying that Laura is a truly wretched soul, but she has had some truly wretched things happen to her. Laura is as important to the whole equation as is Cooper. Laura shows Cooper the bright white light which inhabits her. Cooper does not know what this means in the beginning of the return. Due to his lack of reaction, Laura is pulled back out and into rebirth, and into, as we soon find out, Carrie Page. This can only occur because Laura was liberated at the end of Fire Walk with Me, and liberation is the only way out. Cooper has not achieved this because the ultimate need to protect and serve keeps him from liberation. Additionally, he cannot be liberated because he has yet to face the third Bardo. In the third Bardo, the soul encounters the Lord of Death, which can be seen as Jaude or Judy. The way in which the third Bardo is explained makes my heart hurt for various reasons. The worst being that what unfolds in Part 18 sounds frighteningly similar. The soul encounters the Lord of Death, a fearsome demonic deity who appears in smoke and fire and subjects the soul to a judgment. If the dead person protests that he has done no evil, the Lord of Death holds up before him the mirror of karma, wherein every good and evil act is vividly reflected. Now demons approach and begin to inflict torments and punishments upon the soul for his evil deeds. The instructions in the Bardo Theodol are for him to attempt to recognize the voidness of all these beings, including the Lord of Death himself. The dead person is told that this entire scene unfolding around him is a projection from his own mind. Even here, he can attain liberation by recognizing this. Sounds quite familiar, doesn't it? What year is this? The screen suddenly goes black. The void has been recognized. All these beings and Judy herself have been a projection of Cooper. Is this Cooper achieving his liberation by recognizing this? Does Carrie, Laura, scream to help Cooper recognize this as well? This is where my sadness comes. Cooper has not acknowledged his death, and this is why he does not realize the projection to be true. He still thinks he's a living Dale Cooper, and why shouldn't he? He is the Cooper that saved Laura. He is the one that brought her back home so she will once again be with her mother. He risked everything to make sure this would happen. He fell further and further into different locas, or locations of hell, to escape the truth. He believes it is Laura's truth he must save, and that his actions as a bodhisattva are helping Laura ascend to her greatness. This is why we will always end up seeing Cooper, still in the lodge, with Laura whispering in his ear. He will always end up in a new hell, because he cannot move forward with his own liberation. He will always be searching, finding, discovering, never giving up, and then coming full circle back to the Red Room. Laura will always be waiting to whisper that he is dead. His soul is there with her, and if he ever wants to move on, he needs to awaken. Cooper can control his own destiny within the constructs of the Bardo Thodol. The instructions given to him in this afterlife, he just needs to follow them. Once he follows them down his path of enlightenment, Cooper will have truly awakened. He will have fulfilled his duty, become a Severio Bodhisattva, and once again will have let virtue and goodness be perfected in every way. For more of my articles, visit 25yearslatersite.com. Thanks.
Thank you, JC. Check out her other great work at 25yearslatersite.com.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Mike, for both being on today's show, on our New Year's show. Into the new year for Twin Peaks Unwrapped, and
we're still going?
I know. I can't believe it.
There's no more show. There's no books. There's nothing new. And yet here we are in 2018, still chugging away.
Yeah, and I think we're going to do our best to really dig in to see season 3 more. A lot of people, we've gotten a lot of messages saying we want more of that.
Yeah, I think
we
part of
are.
the things we were thinking is we wanted to wait for the Blu-ray. I wanted to wait for the Blu-ray to rewatch some of that, and
Yeah.
I think there was stuff to talk about from the Blu-rays that we can do, and then we'll be doing that soon.
The special features,
Yeah.
so hold on to your butts because we're going to be talking about all that stuff in upcoming weeks.
Plan is to get more interviews. I mean, there's still
Yes.
so many people we want to talk to from the new series, from the old series.
This podcast can go on forever.
I don't know if it'll go on forever, but I hope we can go on for a little longer.
Yeah, as long as we can do it. So if you'd like to send us a comment, a question, a theory, or hey, you know how to get in contact with David Lynch, send us an email at twinpeaksunwrapped@gmail.com. You can follow us at Twitter at Twin Peaks Unwrapped. Ben usually is the person handling Twitter.
And you're usually on Facebook, yeah?
I'm doing the Facebook stuff, Twin Peaks Unwrapped. We're getting more likes every day. The community's growing. And you can find me on Twitter, DamnFineJava. Usually we got conversations going on about Twin Peaks or stuff I've watched.
Sometimes you're video games, whatever you're into.
Yeah, so we have a good time on there. Also, iTunes, it's very important. Leave us that 5-star reviews. Leave us a nice little comment. We're on Stitcher. We're on Google Play.
Help get this community growing even more than it already is. Yeah, we really appreciate everybody who's been reaching out to us. Thank you for all the reviews and the 5 stars on iTunes. Thank you for the emails and for just staying in contact and letting us know what you think of our show.
And with that, Ben, we'll see everybody in the trees.
See you next week.
And I see you in the branches that blow. The breeze, I see you in the trees.